Adil, how are you doing, mate? Oh my God, it's so great to see you again. My
I've
goodness,
been
it's
doing
been a bit.
good,
Where
and
are you?
I've been what do you call reading all about your misadventures, I might say, with certain people, but adventures of a very good kind, with a
Yeah.
lot more to identify with it. And the
Yeah.
ULEZ files is really tricky, undercover and overcover stuff across the.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a thriller. So it's kind of,
Yes,
I mean, it's fantasy, it's fiction, but I mean,
yes.
obviously, it's partly to do with all the work that I've been doing with what's going on with ULEZ here. And for those people watching and listening that don't know what that's about, we're talking about the ultra low emission zone that was expanded last year in London in August to cover the entire capital city of the UK, which made it the biggest low emission zone in the world, actually. And we're going to come on to that, actually. We're going to talk a little bit about emissions and pollution. So, for those of you that don't know, Adil Darukhanawala is the godfather of motoring journalism in India. I think it's pretty fair to say. The editor
Well,
of multiple newspapers
you
and
put
magazines.
me on a spot there with lots of enforcement
Dude,
agencies trying to put a gun to my head.
dude, I didn't put you. I didn't put you on the spot. I put you on the pedestal upon which
No,
you
I don't
belong.
want that either. That becomes a bigger target.
But if there's anybody that knows everything about automotive in that part of the world, you is the man for sure. But first of all, let's get into. I mean, like we've been trying to organize this for a while
Long
actually,
time.
but you've been really really busy. What have you been up to?
Like I said, one basic thing is it's been a life with cars and bikes all throughout. I cannot envisage anything else. But I've been working on a book now for the last 4.5, 5 years, Century of Motor Racing in India, and it was supposed to be ready last year. But there were a couple of things where, like with most of us authors, especially someone who on a topic which has never been touched in India, century of motor racing in India, it's such an anachronism on its own. But yes, we have got a very rich history of motorsport in India, dating all the way back to 1904. So when you look at that thing, and something or the other keeps on creeping out of the woodwork. India being such a vast land, and no one like the British or the Germans or the Europeans, so to speak, who record everything for posterity. There are no records per se in India. So you need to go and ferret that out of people, institutions, etc. And I lost my colleague of who laid out and designed all my last 15 books. He died due to COVID,
Oh
so it
gosh,
put
sorry
the
to hear.
brakes on the mind a little bit. And now finally we have begun to make some sense of what we have got and everything. The last bit of research happens in the next week with me going to Sri Lanka, because the Sri Lankans used to come to race in India from the 50s, and they also added to the rich tapestry of the sport in our country. So once that last bit is researched, and I've already written over more than about half 60% of the book, it's there. It's got to be laid out now. So once I do this final thing, then it's all systems go. We are looking at a in this quarter, March, April, May. That is where we'd like to what you call have the book out by that. So
Amazing.
that's kept
And
me
this is
busy.
and this is
Plus,
book
also
number. What this is book number what for you? How many have you done
16.
now?
I've done
Wow.
15. This is my 16th book.
And this was when we met. Wasn't it about a year? Was it nearly a year ago that we
Yes,
met?
true, true, true,
And you
true,
were
true.
researching the same book. And
Absolutely.
when you talk about
Absolutely.
motor racing and India and its history, and I think
Hmm.
that listeners will be surprised to find what you learned when you went to Brooklands.
No, I knew what was there. I needed to find out all what happened when the Maharaja had come to race at Brooklands.
Just tell
And
people what. Just tell people that story quickly. That's extraordinary.
the thing is that everyone thinks Naren Karthikeyan was the first Indian to race abroad. Well, he did race. He's the first Indian in F1. But the first Indian ever to race abroad was the Maharaja of Tikari, which is a small principality near what is present day state of Bihar. And he was an avid motorist. So he went across, he was befriended by a lot of these sort of glorified salesmen drivers of that time, who would what you call win on Sunday, sell on Monday, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
And in that sort of thing, this one guy, William Sorrell, who used to what you call be the sales manager, come agent, or God knows what. He happened to see him at one event in Europe, and this guy said, "Hop in the car," and they went out and won the Coupe de Pyrenees Cup.
Wow.
So, and the Maharaja was at a very young age, he was hooked onto that. So he had his racing team at Brooklands. He did a lot of things.
What
So
year?
that's
What year was
really,
he at Brooklands?
sorry,
What year was he at Brooklands?
1911.
1911. I mean, I mean, it really, I mean, if people don't know, Brooklyn is probably the world's oldest motor racing facility or motor racing circuit, I should say.
Yes,
And the fact that there was a team from India there in 1911 is
he
just
had
amazing.
he had in his team he had two D Dietrich cars, two Grand Prix Renaults, the same Renaults which Ferenc won the first French Grand Prix with. He had two of those. He had two Lion Peugeots, and he had the Isle of Man TT winning Indian motorcycles. He had a team which raced motorcycles as well. So
Oh
this
my
man
God.
was everything. He was Bernie Eccleston come Naren Karthikeyan put together.
Unbelievable. What a legend. And this is the thing. I mean, and you're recording this stuff for posterity because
Yes,
ultimately, as I've learned, in my one meager, humble little effort of writing this novel, it's a bit of a thankless task, this authoring of books, isn't it? But,
you should not wait for gratification from someone to tell you you should feel good about writing the book. That is
yeah,
exactly what. So then
yeah.
you don't feel what you call let down by the lack of. If you feel good that you've done a job, that's I think that should be reward enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But also, like, I mean, it's an essential service, isn't it? Because I mean, this is
Oh
history
yes,
that you're recording.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like
the
for the
motorsport
next
universe in India is not.
generation, for the next generation that are going to need to find out about the history of I mean, you've done the groundwork. I mean, this is
Yes,
incredible. It's for
true,
generations
true,
ahead. You've done this work. This is amazing.
correct.
So tell me about what, I saw you also been to my old stomping grounds in Dubai
Yes.
recently. How was that?
I was there. This event, the 1000 Mille experience in the UAE, happened last year for the first time. And last year, I mean 2022.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing to suddenly see uh, classic cars hitting the roads there in the Emirates. And I had asked my brother to find out more about it. One thing led to another, and suddenly the organizer says, "Please come over. We'd like you to see this thing." And also, because in 2022, there were at least about, I think, 6 or 7 Indian cars and crews which went from our country there. And one
Oh
of
wow.
them ended up winning a class as well. But the harsh reality of the economic situation this year saw only two well-heeled Indians bring their cars. But anyway, I went there and I thought I'd cover it. So, but the organizers also gave me a car. They
Yeah.
said, drive a classic car, cover the event in a classic car. So it was massive. And I
Proud
think
of you
that
guys.
I drove a 1985 battle tank Mercedes Benz 450 SE, large
What a beast.
V8, automatic, air conditioned, the best seats in the whole event for a driver. It was awesome, and it was just freshly restored. So she was as crisp as a new car would have been in 1985.
Wow. Wow. What a cool way to do that. That must have been a lot of fun then.
Oh, it was. It surely was because no one expected a work of that size, weight, and whatnot to what you call keep pace with the Ferrari Testarossa.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
but
was good.
but with you at the wheel, it's a different story.
No, no, but I was cognizant of the fact that I had to return the car back in one piece. So you can't what you call take liberties there.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. But when it comes to like touring and doing these drives and going distances and stuff, this is something that you're an old hand at. But you normally do it on bikes, don't you?
No, my first love is bikes, and cars come a very close second. There's a cigarette paper gap between the two, but that's about it. So,
Yeah. But you've done a lot of touring on bikes all over
yes,
all over India, for example.
yes, quite a lot, quite a
Yeah.
lot. quite a lot.
Have you seen things improve in terms of the facilities that are available to do these sort of tours and drives and rides on bikes and stuff like that?
In
I think
India,
that there's a lot of progress, isn't there?
in India,
Yeah.
oh, massive. The one major thing which has happened is the fact that roads have developed massively. So, in case if you were there to see the India of say 10 years ago and you see the India of right now, the road network is phenomenal, and we just can't what you call fathom how much of a difference that is. Number one. Number two, we have good communication. The cell phone, the one time you want to use a cell phone for what it is, a mobile phone, that helps quite a lot in every and nook and cranny of the country. So that's the second thing. Third, the upgrade in the machinery per se, the bikes and the cars, has also been matched by the upgrade in the fuel stations, the rest halts. That quality has made a even larger jump. What we used to see in the 40s, 50s was what carried on till a long time. But now you are right there. Now you go to a great, what you call, rest halt in England, anywhere, at a fuel station with a diner there and whatnot. You see much better than that here in India now. So
Wow.
quite a lot has improved. Quite a lot has.
So this is a good opportunity, I would say, for people if they wanted to do these. Because I mean, when you talk about that part of the country, you talk about India, Pakistan, Kashmir, all these places. I mean, they're absolutely stunning, absolutely
Oh,
beautiful places.
absolutely. There's no two way.
Locations that just haven't been discovered yet. So do you think now is a good opportunity to come and do these sort of things?
No, it's to be honest, if you care to see one geographical area of India, which is Ladakh, Ladakh gets close to about 500,000 foreign tourists who come only to ride bikes there. And it's been going on steadily increasing year on year. I think the figure which I said would be very conservative, it could be more as well. But I was in Ladakh about a couple of months ago. We were driving there with my wife, and we were going through the five of the highest motorable passes in the world. And there I came to know that there are 55,000 motorcycles for hire in Ladakh. So you just
55,000.
55,000,
Wow.
and they're all pre-booked.
All right. Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so you need to plan your coming there, provided the bikes have been what you call pre-booked, and you know that you'll get the bikes there.
What kind of bikes are we talking?
The Royal Enfields, the Bajaj Eliminators, lot of bikes now. Today, the Javas. Today, so many of there's no two ways about it. As far as mid-range bikes are concerned in the world, India is the undisputed leader, both in terms of design, engineering, and volume. The Japanese have abdicated the space because they just cannot, what you call, match pricing, and they cannot even match the development costs. And on quality levels, the Japanese are getting a real beating from the Indian bike
Wow.
makers. And look at Royal Enfield for just as one example. Royal Enfield dominates that mind space in the thing between 350cc to 650cc globally now. So the about 800,000 bikes they make every year of that nature, which is huge.
That's amazing. It's an incredible industry. I tell you what, I don't know if you've seen it, but I don't watch, I don't get the chance to watch many Indian movies, but I saw a movie the other night called Dhak, which was
Oh,
about,
sorry, I have not seen it.
you should see it. I think you'd really enjoy it. And it was about these four women that basically, it's a road movie. It's a road trip
Okay,
movie.
yes, yes, I
And it's
okay.
about four women that basically decide to jump on their bikes and then take
Hmm,
a tour across India. But it's incredibly inspiring.
hmm.
And when you think about the fact that I think some women have there's somebody just fallen over there. But it's, when you think about the fact that they embark on this journey and it's talking about stereotypes, it's talking about
Hmm.
the relationship with bikes, it's talking about the ability to tour. But one of the things I really liked in that movie was a couple of the women, they really talked about their relationship with the actual bike, and the
Hmm.
term duck duck comes from
Yes,
heartbeat. is related to the
Exactly.
sound that the bike makes as well,
Exactly.
which I thought was fantastic.
Okay, makes it. I'll just make a point of that. I must watch this movie.
Yeah, no, definitely you must do. But we're talking about India, and we're talking about touring and the fact that you can go to all these beautiful places. But one of the issues that have come out recently is, of course, the pollution levels. So I've obviously done a bit of work here in London about pollution, where I've been going around with a meter. I did a couple of videos last year. And if people are aware, normally you would measure the quality of air on an AQI index. And an AQI
Yes.
index is calibrated from 0 to 500. So when I was doing my tests here in London, where it was claimed that we had illegal levels of pollution. However, I never saw more than 12 on the AQI index in London, 12 to 15. That was the maximum I ever saw. The worst levels were actually in the underground. That's where I got the most pollution,
Yes. Okay.
which went up to about 100 and something, quite a lot. But the safe area is about below 50, and it's actually safe. Above 50 is when it starts to get moderate. But according to reports in India, in Delhi, they were as high as 480, 485, something like that.
Let me tell you one thing. We in India are living way above the numbers you speak. I think if around about 80 to 100 is the mean AQI levels. But I must tell you one more thing across over there. We look at the pollution levels and only what you call want to attack the motorist.
Yeah,
In India, we suffer from a lot of pollution from dust, construction work, uh, old style manufacturing plants across the board, across the spectrum. And plus, also the fact remains that the we have got one of the most stringent emission legislation in the world as far as the automotive world scenario is concerned in India, both from a tailpipe perspective as also from the fact of noise pollution and whatnot. So the industry has done everything and it matches everything. The trouble is the implementation of whatever legislation suddenly points out across over there that the number of cars and bikes and trucks and buses, etc., are the main culprit, which is not, which the IIT of Kharagpur, which is one of the premier technical organizations in the country, had done a big survey and they said cars, automotive stuff contributes on just about 20-22% to the, but then you are burdening these guys and hammering us to pulp in the mid thing. So even if you what do you call hammer us to oblivion, what are you going to do with the remaining 78 to 80% which is causing pollution?
quite
So
right.
there is
But,
this
but, but,
disconnect.
explain, but explain first of all, what are the measures that they've introduced? What are the sort of draconian measures that they've imposed upon motorists? What exactly is happening there?
No, so the most draconian measures which happen in Delhi, one of the most polluted cities in the nation. And you must understand one thing that Delhi, apart from Delhi, is basically two cities: Old Delhi and New Delhi. Old Delhi has really remained old as far as what you used to see in the Mughal era or before that. There is a modicum of modernity, but by and large, New Delhi is completely new, designed as a capital, wide roads, good thoroughfares, planning across over. But Delhi is also surrounded by two, three other tiny cities where a lot of industry is there. And on one hand, going what do you call down south towards the southwest of Delhi, we have got the Thar Desert. So a lot of the desert winds blow in the sand to the capital. And another thing which aggravates pollution up north from Delhi is the Punjab, which is the granary, used to be the granary of the country. There, the winter months are bad because the farmers burn their stubble and the winds blow it down towards Delhi. So, in Delhi, we have got a thing that diesel cars are banned, which is wrong, actually speaking, in the sense Today's diesel cars are very, very cleaner than whatever
So
they.
they're completely banned.
Yeah, on certain days they are completely banned.
All
And
right.
what is the idiocy of this whole thing is the government's own trucks and whatnot are diesel powered.
Yeah.
They are not maintained the way they should be maintained. So it's the thing the private motorist suffers a lot. And honestly speaking, cars are not just what do you call thing for luxury and for being a plaything, but they are necessary for commerce, day to day work habits, etc. This thing is still not what you call making a dent on the mind of the planners. And given the fact that we have a central road law network, but there are the states have their own unique laws as well. So sometimes they are at variance to each other, and the question is trying to find out who to blame is an impossible task. You should never even get there. But in that thing, the private motorist, the average motorist, is the most harried and pummeled soul ever in this country.
So I read reports about the fact that some cars were even confiscated, like they actually went to people's homes and just took the cars away. Is that
Yes,
true?
this was ridiculous in the sense they said that 15-year-old cars are banned, and a lot of people have got a lot of cars. The one thing which is very worrying in India was we didn't have this like you have MOT, which
Yeah.
you need to get your cars done. We never had such a thing ever before. We had fitness certificates every 5 years to do and all that, but enforcing that was absolutely non-existent. So, but I've seen many who are diligent about it would maintain their cars, 20, 25-year-old cars also spick and span in that sort of thing. So this indiscriminate picking up of cars, and not everyone owns a bungalow so he can park his or her car inside or whatever. So they are parked outside the houses. So they became unfortunate victims of anyone grab and crush and whatnot. So it was chaos in Delhi. This was only Delhi centric,
Yeah.
not anywhere else. But the question is, Delhi is a unique case.
But hang on,
Delhi is
before we get into that, with these cars, I mean, did we lose a lot of classic cars through that process as well?
thankfully classic car guys have got bungalows.
Right, right. So they kept their cars separate.
So you can't get in
But
there.
even when you talk about 20, 25-year-old cars that may have been well maintained, we
Yes,
essentially lost those as well.
yes, a lot of them had been lost, but then a lot of citizen pushback happened with recourse to the law and whatnot, and uh,
Did anybody get their cars back?
a lot of cars guys got the cars back. There's
Oh,
no
good
two
to
ways
hear.
about it. A lot of
Yeah.
guys, but unfortunately, some of them went to the crusher before anything could happen, which was sad.
And this is the thing is that what people don't understand. Cars are different and this is what you and I understand. What a lot of people don't understand. Cars are very different to any other object. There's a
Yes,
relationship there. There's a sentimentality there. There's a history there. There's sometimes
absolutely
people feel very strongly and very passionate. Somebody might keep a car but not actually use it, but because it
true,
means something to them, right?
true, true,
So
true.
to just ruthlessly take these cars away, I mean that is equivalent to mental torture, isn't it?
Of course it is. Of course it is. Just discussing it is mental torture.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then seeing it happen is the final killer blow.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I mean, so what happened after that then? So did they change
So,
that law,
so
or
after, so what happens is it is basically a thing of common sense that you have to understand. And they had this thing, odd and even registration number things. So certain days only odd numbered cars, certain days only even numbered cars are allowed to what you call be driven on the roads. What they finally understood is you did all that thing and suddenly you'd say okay and that also was not constant. This is suddenly the break in the weather and the pollution levels are not there, the EQI has really come down. They say everything happens, okay, everything is good. Why did it happen? Just the cars don't allow it to happen, and
Yeah.
let the AQI index either exceed the limits or for get to normal. So basically, once these people realize that this is too complex a matter, so and not to bracket motorists, but you know what, motorists, the middle class, the average class is what makes the country run.
Yeah.
So you have to, what you call, keep on clobbering them till so anything in where. But the thing is that now finally there are people who have begun to make representations of a scientific sort which the average public can understand, comprehend, and even the guys in authority. We have a very big push towards electrification.
Yeah.
I don't know how and where we are going to get the juice to run electric sectors. But be that as it may, we have very big push there. But electrification cannot come at the cost of getting ICEs out.
Yeah.
There has got to be a happy coexistence between everything. There are needs which ICE can never fulfill as of the moment, and there are practical issues which cannot rule out the ICE guys at all.
Yeah.
So this sort of thought process is already. What happens is we are a country where if you get out of the bed on the right side, you make good decisions. So you emboldened by the good decision, the next day you get out from the wrong side of the bed and you think I succeeded yesterday, I will succeed today as well. And he makes blunders across. So
Yeah.
this is how it goes through.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the key thing, is to be able to base these decisions on scientific fact, on actual research,
Absolutely.
actually
Absolutely.
helps. But otherwise, just blanket banning and stuff like that is just causing unnecessary hardship, particularly in a country which, to be honest, is like motoring. Has not been as fundamental there as it has, say, in the Western world. I mean, the car wasn't accessible to everybody until, like you say, the rise of the middle classes, and suddenly
Yeah.
people started to move
Last
towards
25
cars.
years is where we have seen the real growth of the industry, and we are what, number 4 in the world right now in
Yeah.
terms of the market is the fourth largest market in the world, and we might just about cross over into the third spot next year. This
So
year
this is
we did.
so this was my point, that there's a two-pronged thing here. First of all, you've allowed people the luxury and the freedom to own cars, which is great, which is something that is not easy to now take away. But secondly, you've got a growing massive industry that puts India on a global stage in the automotive world anyway. And is that something that you want to endanger by doing this?
Yeah, I would like to say one of the key things across over here is uh, India is not a screwdriver country. It's a manufacturing country, which is very different to what it was. So when you have 4 million cars built in the country, it says something across over there. So plus the fact is, the government wants to, what you call, really power on electrification, which I feel they have to realize that we are not Europe, we are not the US, you're not. We may want to, what you call, the laudable thought is reducing pollution. My thinking across is, I always mirror what Akio Toyoda said. The culprit is not the ICE engine or this propulsion system. That the culprit is carbon. If we can cut the carbon footprint, that is what our thing. Here it's not that. Here is ban this so that this. What happens is with electrification, I think almost 70% of India's electricity is coming from coal-fired plants. So you are only, what you call, even if you want to, you're only shifting the carbon footprint from the cities to the rural areas where the plants are.
Yeah.
So it's a dichotomy of sorts which the government has not been able to grapple with. And key thing is that every day is something new technology. Oh, we are going to have these sort of batteries. Yesterday you were talking about some batteries. So, ours is a long lead industry. Guys need time to execute, from concept to execution to rollout is at least 18-24 months. You can't be, what you call, having this whims and fancies of the politicians saying we do this, we do that, and that has caused a lot of mud in the minds.
Do you think that, like a little bit like it is in the West, I feel, do you think it's a case of governments that don't really understand the issues, but it's easy to jump on the bandwagon and it's great for sound bites
Yes,
to talk about
true, very true, very
electrification
true,
and all this sort of stuff?
very true. No, no, that's all politicians have perfected the art of grandstanding,
Yeah.
and I think they are the best actors in the world. What you see on screen, these guys do it in real life.
Yeah.
It impacts quite a lot.
Yeah.
But having said that, you just think about it. Even in, I just read day before yesterday on Automotive News that Ford has stopped making electric cars, and they said we are not going to proceed with electrification. And
Yeah, they
there's been a
postponed the F-150 electric version.
F-150 Lightning,
Yeah, they
yes.
postponed that,
So
yeah.
that plus also GM is also thinking very much. So there is a
Adil, I gotta say to you, I'm actually the GM thing is the one that surprised me the most
yes,
because, as you
true,
and I
true.
both know, for the last, I think, a decade, GM has been hounding on about electrification, electrification.
Yes, yes.
That's been their mantra, and for them to suddenly pull back on it, I was really surprised when I read that.
But you know what? This is a typical Yankee way. They also suddenly say, okay, we'll if it's not broken, we'll fix it. If it's
Yeah,
not broken, we'll fix it. And if you see the American auto industry, what it was at one time and what it is right now, there's not been that they were only looking at sales volumes and what was the balance sheet, which had to look good beyond any other compunctions. But we also have got seeing situations. My daughter is in the US, and she tells me that she has a Mazda. She just bought a Mazda, and she says that it's good that I bought this and didn't fall to the lure of the electric, because we get caught on the expressways, and there is snowstorm and whatnot. She said there have been basic health issues with the electric cars running out of heating.
Hmm.
And also look at the geopolitical aspect of things in Europe with the Russia Ukraine crisis. Gas has been what you call, slowly the taps have been turned.
Yeah,
So all the Europeans on mainstream on the European continent, they had based everything on shutting down coal-fired plants and nuclear plants for cheap Russian gas. Now suddenly they find themselves in a bind. So the question is, you got to know what you are doing, keeping so many things in eco. Now that is on a different plane. The pollution levels are on a different issue altogether.
yeah, no, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think particularly the case with electric, it really caught people out here because I would say just 15 months ago, 18 months ago, you would say that definitely running an electric car was cheaper than a petrol car. And now all of a sudden it's about the same price. So you go, well,
Yeah,
unless you charge at home. If you charge at home, that's different. But like most people don't have home chargers. But if you charge
true.
publicly, it can actually be more expensive. But bringing it back to, so the thing is about here, like we've been going on about ULEZ and about the war on motorists because we've got LTNs and 20 miles per hour limits and
I must
all of these
just interrupt
things.
here for a minute. I must interrupt. Politicians the world over are the most untrustworthy guys ever.
Yeah. But this is the thing, the world over. You see, you've just hit the nail on the head because one of the things that I've been saying to people here is that the war on the motorists, as we're now calling it, and as I've called it in my novel as well, is
Hmm.
not just London. This is a global phenomenon. This is
True,
happening
true.
everywhere, isn't it?
These guys learn from successful purveyors of the cart,
Yeah.
and everyone wants to go one step better than anyone else.
Yeah, 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 and I think it's really kind of depressing because if you think about the fact that you take a country like India where people have sort of I would say like, as you said in the last 25 years more and more people have switched from two wheels to four wheels and a lot of people have learned or adapted to the joy of motoring and the joy of owning a car and then to suddenly encounter this situation where globally there is this alleged or perceived war on the motorists, which I think is very real. It's really it's kind of depressing, really, isn't it?
It is. It is. But again, it is stupidity as well.
Yeah.
What I say, any sane motorist will care to see reason. But right now, there is no reason being applied, and this they are telling the authorities that can you be reasonable and look at pollution in a holistic manner and not just vehicular pollution? Because that is what is impacting lives. You know what? When I was in Dubai, we had the COP28 summit going on at the same
Yes,
time
I
during
know.
the Mille thing over there.
Yeah.
And the dinner which we had on the eve of the start, there someone made a telling comment. He says sustainability is one of the key things at COP28 and whatnot. And yes, he says we have sustainability here because we've got 90-year-old cars running the
Yeah.
distance. So now,
Yeah.
for a 90-year-old car to run 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers, it has got to be good. It has got to what you call be have been made in a manner which transcends everything time can throw at it. So sustainability across in a manner, if the cars are maintained well, done well, you need to give them an opportunity to what you call do what they were meant for. This is not, the key thing which I feel many people. And one more thing which was there at the Mille, there were three cars in the three different classes. One was a 1937 Bugatti T57 Stelvio Coupe. There was one Ferrari Testarossa, and there was the Mercedes Pullman of the Gargash Group 600 Pullman.
Wow.
These three cars were running on synthetic petrol made by a company known as P1 Fuels. So the new age synthetic fuels are also something which you need to factor in because they are cleaner, they are
Yeah.
manufactured cleaner as well, and they help the give the IC engine a newer lease of life. So there were three cars. So both these things were addressed in this event.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, over here, as you may know, I'm involved with the British Motor Show, and the
Hmm.
British Motor Show, their entire fleet is run on Corrigan fuels, which is a synthetic fuel, which is e-fuels. And this is the other thing is like you have all of these opportunities. There's carbon extraction that's
Yes,
available right now. There's lots of things that we need to be exploring rather than just blanket dismissing these cars. The
yes,
key
yes.
point that you made there about sustainability, and I think this is particularly important for that part of the world, for India and Pakistan, where the extraordinary thing, like for example, over here, you get a car that's say 15 years old or something, and there's a say the head gasket or blown or something like that. The cost of parts and the cost of labor and the cost of fixing that car here is so prohibitive sometimes that
True.
car unfortunately gets written off.
Correct.
However, in those countries, no matter what, they
No matter
keep
what.
the cars going. You know, they'll keep the cars going. They'll figure out a way to make them run, and it's just the best use of the automobile, isn't it? Because you just extend
Absolutely.
its life for as long as possible.
Absolutely. You're going to what you call deprive a lot of people the means to earn a livelihood.
Yes.
That also, in the subcontinent here, we are not, the standard of living is definitely increasing, but it's no patch on what it is there in Europe or the US or wherever. So we need to what you call see to it, and with 1.4 billion people, we can't have even say 500,000 people run out of jobs. It will be catastrophic, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whatever thing, so you have to see it holistically. I always say we are myopic, and the motorist is a willing lamb to the slaughter. That's how it is.
There you go. I
We're
think
fighting.
that's a really good way of ending it. I think that's a good way of ending
No,
this.
but the thing is that we are fighting. We are fighting back. There's a pushback. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just that
there has to be. There absolutely has to be. You know, because
yes,
ultimately we can't let go of what is now a 130-year legacy of the
true,
motor car that that
true.
we are indebted to in many ways.
I was just going through the research for my motorsport book, and we found some of the greatest names in the motoring world at the cusp of the advent of the motor car in the 1890s. There was this guy in England who's supposed to be the had the patent on all Frederick Sims. So he was involved in the setup of the Daimler motor car company in England, along with Gottlieb Daimler, and that which happened later on went on to be Jaguar Land Rover Rising. Frederick Sims used to write in Indian publications in the late 1890s,
Wow.
advocating the car. So when you look at that sort of a thing, that yes, there is a tremendous amount of motoring history, even from that far back in a
Yeah.
land like India, where everyone used to think that we only travel on elephants and horses and bullock carts. No, we happily coexist with them.
Yeah, yeah. It's absolutely extraordinary. Oh my goodness, we could talk about this forever. So I'm sure
Yes, for sure.
we'll probably pick this up again in a future session. But I think that having discussed about the fact that the war on the motorists is happening all over the world, looking at what's happening in India, and I think that you've made some very valid points there about what the reality is in terms of the pollution and how we need
Yes,
to look at the whole solution rather than just target motorists individually, which is increasingly
absolutely.
unfair and happening all over the world. But I think that it's been very eye-opening. It's been very enlightening. Thank you so much for taking the time today out of your incredibly hectic schedule as you now
No,
pack
but
your suitcases as you're
I
heading up to
love,
Sri
I
Lanka.
love to what you call share and
Yeah,
headbang with guys like you, because this is what is the stimulating nature of our passion, you know.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
need to what you call stoke it always.
I think that's key. That's really important, and I think it's great to see, particularly in places like India and Pakistan, where we are seeing a new generation of car enthusiasts that are actually coming on quite strong. Where
Absolutely.
it's really,
Absolutely.
really the car events and the car culture. It's really blossoming there, isn't it?
True, true.
That's awesome, man. Cool. When are you next in the UK?
Maybe later in the year.
Okay,
Later in
cool.
the year.
Well, I hope to see you
When I,
there.
when I when I start figuring out my next book.
Oh my God, there's no stopping you. There is no stopping you, and that's brilliant.
So
Thanks so
this
much,
book
Adil,
is.
and I'll catch you again soon in the future podcast. Take care, man.
Thank you, Shazad. Have fun. All the best.
In London streets, where politics and power collide, the ULEZ Files by BrownCarGuy is a thrilling new novel depicting a high-stakes battle for the roads. Join Max Turner, a motoring journalist, as he uncovers a plot to control car ownership and personal liberties. With agent Eleanor Rodriguez and tech genius Flux Jackson, they race against time through London's iconic streets. It's a narrative that questions the balance between environmental policies and individual rights. For fans of cars, action, and political intrigue, the ULEZ Files promises high-speed chases, tactical ingenuity, and a fight for justice. Available now, exclusively on Amazon.com. The ULEZ Files by BrownCarGuy. Get your copy today. BrownCarGuy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.